The PSPaudioware BinAmp is a Class A triode preamp emulation based specifically on the preamp of the legendary Binson Echorec 2 delay unit. In other words, the BinAmp is a tube preamp. Hi, for PSP Audio, I'm Marlon of White Noise Studio. When your mix or individual tracks are lacking thickness, one of the best solutions is to add saturation. BinAmp, with its Binson Echorec tube emulation, provides exactly that, and you get all controls you need to dial in just the right saturation sound. The plugin has great aliasing control with its quad sampling. It does 4 times upsampling up to 192 kHz. This will contribute to the sounds best described as warm, vintage and analog. Those are many hype words. Demonstrating this actual sound is far more powerful. A proper preamp sort of premixes your audio when you drive into saturation. Here's this drum loop. And here's BinAmp. The level of the clean audio and with the BinAmp plugin have been adjusted to match. Let's listen again and pay attention between the balance between the kick and the snare and how every element of this loop now gels. Here's a clean female vocal.
The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes.
And here's the same vocal rendered already with BinAmp, where I added a bit of saturation and the high pass was dialed up. This high pass is for the entire signal chain.
The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes.
This version of the same vocal has a lot of saturation rendered with BinAmp.
The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes.
Pre-mixing ability of BinAmp can also be seen. The levels of the 3 clips are matched in loudness, and besides evening out the dynamics to an extent, BinAmp adds a nice shimmery high end to this vocal. You can push this saturation even further. You can dial back some of the high, more pronounced high end with the roll-off and change the blend to bring back some of the original vocal.
The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes. The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes. The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes. The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes. The night when the young can be dumb and the stars are in our eyes.
With BinAmp you have the great flexibility to nicely even out the dynamics, have a chunk of those lovely harmonics, but not have it overdone. More saturation will increase higher frequencies, and when you dial that in with drive on BinAmp, that absolutely happens while also shaving off the sharp attacks. Here's a snare. And here's BinAmp. The shaving off of the high transients and increase in high frequencies is very audible. The attack gets broader and splashier and it seems to get louder, but what you hear is the saturation in the higher frequencies. There's more there. The loudness in LUFS was set equal. This will help to increase the presence of, in this case, the snare in the next metal mix. The additional benefit is that the actual peak volume is lower as well. And that means that any limiter you're using on the master bus can have an easier job, which results in a better overall sound. The saturation in BinAmp is great on plenty of other sources. Here's a bass guitar. Besides all major controls, BinAmp also has interesting other ones. For instance, when your input audio is too loud, press the -20 decibel pad so you have more headroom to work with the drive. The character of the saturation can be dialed in as well. That's always nice to play around with, for instance, the blend. This variation dial will introduce some small differences between the channels. And can do a bit of stereo widening. And polarity is always handy in a mix. Just toggle to hear if normal or polarity flipped sounds best for your audio. You can change it for input as well, or both at the same time. BinAmp will elevate any track you use it on, without doubt. Check it out with the link in the description and don't forget to subscribe to the PSPaudioware YouTube channel. I'm Marlon of White Noise Studio and I'll see you around.